Hey, this your boy Diggaveli. Welcome back to the channel. And I got a great video here, guys. Women have finally got the vaginal walls to stand up for themselves. You know, we can't say balls or we'll be talking about a trans woman. But yeah, man, women have finally started standing up for themselves where it counts, man. I guess they're tired of the circus game being played on them. But you ain't got to hear me talk about it much. Let's get into the video.
They're just raping. They're just raping women.
So let me tell you the inside scoop. We got a bunch of these women protesting the ACLU because they've had it with them prioritizing trans rights over women's rights. Let's go see what's going on.
And there's no such thing as trans.
Why don't you think so?
Because they're just people pretending to be something they're not.
People have these gender identities. It's a mystical, magical thing.
What is this gender identity? What is that? Somebody explain that to me. Show it to me on the body. It's not a real thing. It's an idea, right?
There's no way to measure it
Right.
or to observe it. You just got to take someone's word for it. And you say, you can affirm it by saying a prayer, which is saying their pronouns. It's really a religious belief.
I am not an idea in
I
a man's
agree.
head. My reality is real. My body is real. The things that I live with, the things that I go through are unique to me and all the women here. You know, a man will never experience that because a man feels like a girl that he is a girl is ludicrous. So I don't use the word. I say men pretending to be or women pretending to be because that's all it is. You're pretending to be something that you're not.
We've gathered here to
Man, shout out to these strong women, man. Because we've been in the rabbit hole for a while now. It's actually refreshing to hear women like speak like logic and just reality, man. It's quite refreshing.
today to protest the ACLU, who we have identified as the legal strong arm of the gender industry and agenda.
If there's a single legal entity that's more responsible than any other for men being in women's prisons, it is the ACLU.
One of the biggest issues is they're putting trans women in women's prisons, locker rooms, and restrooms. These are natural men. These women are furious.
See, any man that wants to come in your
And you know, for a lot of people, I get on Facebook, for instance, you know, Facebook is like the #1 government ran propaganda app in the world. But I get on there and you got people that just, oh, you know, trans are just important as women and all that stuff. But what are you talking about? They're literally putting men in women prisons and they're raping women. They're having kids with women. I thought these men were supposed to be women. But you know, Facebook don't get information like that. They like to hide all that shit from Facebook and keep people dumbed down on there. So they don't see that type of information, but they'll argue with you without even knowing this stuff exists. Nasty work.
Sister's, your mother's bathroom, it is mostly legal in every state for men to be in women's bathrooms.
And this is not a world that I want my children to inherit.
They have been representing men's
Facts. And that's why I've been so against this stuff. Like for the last couple years, man, I do not want my kids to grow up in a world of confusion and sin and just ridiculousness.
rights to access women and girls' private spaces such as locker rooms, bathrooms, prisons, rape shelters.
They're just raping. They're just raping women in front of the other women.
Do you think the guys is just doing that, or do you think the women are allowing them to do that?
You cannot consent when you're in prison to sex. So it is rape.
Why can't you consent?
The government technically is like your parent once you get, in that system, arrested.
Women and girls are ultimately being told that they no longer have the right of consent. They no longer have the right to boundaries around their bodies. This is a tragedy and a safeguarding failure, especially for our daughters.
And the men are there to have sex. I mean, that's what they're there for. It's called $1 Million Baby. They walk around saying we're going to make $1 Million Baby, and they try to have sex with as many women as they can.
If you had to give me an option to either get undressed on the street with a bunch of random strange men who aren't trying to force themselves into the women's restroom, or go into the women's restroom full with men who demand to be in there because they say that they're women, I'll take my chances out on the street. You know why? Because the average man is probably safer than whatever freak show is trying to insist that he has the right to come in and watch me undress.
Facts.
If you go there and they say we're going to strip search you, and you say no, you're not allowed to say no. That's part of the procedure. So now you go there, we're going to rape you, and the women prisoners say no. They're not allowed to say no. Whether or not they want to have sex with that man or not. They're not allowed to say no because the state has put a man in there. And if they do say no, they get put in solitary confinement.
We are being told that our ability to consent, no one asked us if these men could enter our spaces. And if they did ask us, we would say no. So in that sense, our right to offer our approval or consent or even our feedback has been removed. So these men are simply entitled to access our spaces whether or not we agree to it.
And the crazy part about that is that it's just men, like, they, women right now are just so against like men in authority and in power position trying to tell them what to do. What's more authoritative than an actual man pretending to be a woman telling you that you can't stop him from being in women's spaces or taking over women's spaces? Because I just seen in Europe that a bunch of trans men have taken over like a woman's rights group. Like a real woman's rights group is led by like trans men right now in Europe. But you already know, man, the UK is like a shithole right now. It just continue to fall. But yeah, man, this stuff is really going on, and people should really open their eyes to it, man. Because women are being done like such a disservice right now in this country, and it's disgusting for me as a man to see it. So I know like women are just like they're so disgusted with how they're being treated, man.
And we do not consent to it.
Why do you think there's like such a big push to put men in women's facilities?
Besides, they don't have any respect for women. I think it's money.
Every child that they transition
Right.
pediatrically is worth about $1 million to the pharmaceutical companies. They will be a medical patient for the rest of their lives.
They're creating a medical market for the children, and they're creating all kinds of shootouts with markets with this. This is not a civil rights movement. It is a business movement to commodify humans because what happened? We don't have a manufacturing. We're selling our people now. We're selling.
In facts, because I don't know if people know or not, but China has actually been experimenting on men's bodies to be able to carry babies. And they're not doing that to further humankind. They're doing that because they have a market for it. With this new trans market, you got a whole bunch of men that want to really be women, and they want to have everything that comes with being a woman. So they're actually actively right now experimenting on men to carry babies in China. Like, so when you got all these people out here that go, oh, I support trans this, if my kid is trans this, like, your kid is part of a financial experiment. You're not on the right side of history. You're not fighting for human rights for all. Everybody has human rights. Everybody has the same rights. You're not fighting for any of that. So if you think you're a social justice warrior out here doing good things by backing all this nonsense, you're definitely not. You're part of the problem.
Selling parts. We're selling surrogacy. We're selling, women's rights, basically. We're putting men with the women in the prison.
Well, instead of shutting down the women's prisons, well, we have so many overflow of men. We can just rebrand a few of them as women and put them over in the women's prison. And then everybody can be making money. It's insane. It's scary.
They are literally creating babies that are now entering the foster care system.
Why do they want our children? Why do they want to create them in prisons? Why do they want to take them from parents? Why do they want to remove parental consent? I mean, your guess is as good as mine, right? Like, is it for pedophilia? I mean, that's where it goes, because that's where my mind goes, because there's really no other reason to take children away from their parents under the guise of gender identity. Parents are the ones that love their children the most.
What's like the solution? What do you think that is?
We go back to reality. There's men and there's women. Everybody else is just pretending to be something they're not. In law, there's no such thing as gender. It's sex. Period. That's where we have to go.
I have to find out who this woman is, man. I really love just like how straightforward she is with it. I need to find her Twitter, so I need to follow her.
To reality. Men are men, women are women. Period. End of.
You're going to have people tell you, just be kind, just be nice. It is not kind to house men with vulnerable women who are being impregnated. It is not kind that those babies are being ripped out of their mother's arms within 48 hours postpartum and dumped into a foster care system where they will be medicalized and most likely, surprise, surprise, in a few years' time, pop up as trans, and now being a little, goose egg of money for the medical system that's going to make, again, upwards of $1 million off of these kids.
How crazy is that, man? Shout out to everybody in this video for speaking facts and bringing the reality back. And this is what we need more, man. Because we're in a really bad spot right now in society. And we really need to come out of it. And I love women. I'm more of the alpha male type. The toxic masculinity, what they like to call me, because I don't want to get rid of my masculinity for anything. That's what makes a man a man. And real men protect women. And I love women. They're the most remarkable thing on the planet to me because they create life. So in a way, they're closer to God than anything on this planet. They actually give life. And for people that don't feel like they need to protect women and life in general, if you're not going to help and protect women, just get out the way, man. Stay the hell out the way. Keep your mouth shut. And simple as that. Because we're never going to stop fighting for women, man. I love women. And like I said, they're the single most precious thing on the planet when it comes to humans, animals, or whatever. They're the givers of life. And we will always fight for women. Well, y'all seen it like I seen it. Another great video. Let's continue to fight the fight, man. Y'all seen it like I seen it. I'm out.